cars flying past at over 200 miles per hour, inches apart. One mistake, and it's chaos. This is NASCAR. Massive crashes, photo finishes, and machines pushing the absolute limit on oval tracks. Today, it's one of the biggest motorsports in the world. But here's the crazy part. NASCAR didn't start on racetracks. It started with illegal street racers, running from the police in modified road cars. And somehow, that turned into 320 kilometers per hour monsters battling wheel to wheel. This is the story of how NASCAR became one of the wildest motorsports on Earth. The illegal beginnings. Long before packed grandstands and billion-dollar teams, NASCAR's roots were illegal. Between the 1920s and 1940s, during Prohibition and after, drivers in the American South modified their everyday cars to transport illegal moonshine. These cars looked normal on the outside, but under the hood they were completely transformed. Stronger engines, reinforced suspensions, better handling, all built for one purpose: outrun the police. The drivers became incredibly skilled, pushing their cars to the limit on narrow dirt roads, often at night with no margin for error. And when they weren't running from the law, they started racing each other. What began as informal battles between moonshine runners quickly turned into organized competitions. That's when one man saw the opportunity to turn chaos into a sport: Bill France Sr. In 1948, he officially founded NASCAR, transforming illegal street racing into a professional motorsport. But the cars were still the same at heart: stock cars built from real road vehicles with a hidden purpose: speed.
Boy, that was close.
Birth of NASCAR. By the late 1940s, those underground races needed structure. In 1948, Bill France Sr. officially created NASCAR, the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing. The idea was simple: take real production cars and race them. The first competitions were held on a unique circuit at Daytona Beach Road Course, part asphalt, part sand. Drivers would blast down the beach at full speed, then turn onto a paved section for the corners. These early stock cars were exactly what the name suggests: stock. Cars like early Fords and Chevrolets, straight from the showroom, only slightly modified for racing. No massive wings, no extreme aerodynamics, just raw power, mechanical grip, and driver skill. But that simplicity wouldn't last long, because as competition grew, so did the need for speed. The Speed War. By the 1960s, NASCAR was no longer just racing stock cars. It became a full-scale war for speed. Manufacturers like Ford Motor Company, Dodge, and Plymouth were fighting for dominance, and they started pushing engineering to the extreme. This led to one of the craziest eras in motorsport history: the Aero Wars. Cars like the Dodge Charger Daytona and the Plymouth Superbird didn't just look different. They were completely redesigned for high-speed racing. Massive rear wings, long pointed nose cones, all built to cut through the air at insane speeds. And it worked. These cars became the first in NASCAR history to break 200 miles per hour, over 320 kilometers per hour. But there was a problem. They were becoming too fast and too dangerous. The gap between teams grew, costs exploded, and safety became a real concern. So NASCAR made a decision that would change everything. They stepped in and effectively banned these extreme aerodynamic monsters. The Speed War was over, but NASCAR would never be the same again. Control and safety era. After the chaos of the Aero Wars, NASCAR had to regain control. The focus shifted from extreme innovation to safety and close competition. By the 1980s and 1990s, the rules became much stricter. Aerodynamics were limited, and teams had less freedom to experiment. Cars like the Chevrolet Monte Carlo NASCAR still looked aggressive, but underneath they were becoming more standardized. Power was still high, around 700 to 800 horsepower, and speeds on superspeedways like Daytona International Speedway could still exceed 300 kilometers per hour. But now the racing was closer than ever. Instead of one dominant car, entire packs of cars would run side by side, separated by just centimeters. This era also saw NASCAR explode in popularity. Massive crowds, national TV coverage, and legendary drivers turned it into a mainstream sport. It was no longer just about raw speed. It was about competition, control, and survival in the pack. The modern era. By the 2000s, NASCAR entered a new phase. The focus was no longer just speed or innovation. It was control, parity, and entertainment. The cars became more standardized than ever with strict regulations to keep every team as equal as possible. Engines still produced around 750 horsepower. But the real difference was how close the racing became. On tracks like Daytona International Speedway and Talladega Superspeedway, cars would run in massive packs at nearly 320 kilometers per hour. Drafting became essential. Drivers relied on the airflow from the car ahead to gain speed, creating tight groups where dozens of cars moved as one. But this also made racing more dangerous. One small mistake could trigger a massive crash, the kind NASCAR fans call the big one. To improve safety and competition, NASCAR introduced new generations of cars, leading to today's next-gen machines. They are safer, more durable, and designed for even closer racing. But some fans still ask, has NASCAR become too controlled compared to its wild past? Today, less crazy? Today, NASCAR is safer, more controlled, and more calculated than ever before. The modern next-gen cars still produce around 670 horsepower, and on tracks like Daytona International Speedway, they can still reach close to 300 kilometers per hour. But compared to the past, things have changed. The cars are highly standardized. Aerodynamics are tightly controlled, and teams have far less freedom to experiment. That means fewer extreme designs, fewer crazy innovations, but much closer racing. Drivers now fight in tight packs, inches apart, where strategy, drafting, and precision matter more than ever. It's still aggressive, still intense. But some fans miss the days of 200-plus miles per hour monsters with massive wings, pushing the limits of what was possible. So the question is, has NASCAR become less crazy, or just a different kind of extreme? From illegal moonshine runners on dusty back roads, to 300 kilometers per hour machines battling inches apart on massive speedways, NASCAR has come a long way. It started with drivers trying to outrun the police, then became a war of speed, with cars breaking 200 miles per hour and forcing rule changes. And today, it's one of the most competitive motorsports in the world, where every detail matters. The cars may be more controlled now, but the intensity, the danger, and the fight for every position is still there. Because no matter the era, NASCAR has always been about one thing: pushing machines and drivers to the absolute limit. So now the question is, which era do you think was the craziest?